Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are uncovering 5 powerful truths every man must understand about love, respect, and his own value. Many men lose themselves trying to hold on to someone else, but the moment you understand your attention, your emotions, your choices, and your self-respect, everything changes. This is not about becoming cold or playing games. It is about becoming aware, building confidence, and learning how to protect the person who matters most, yourself. Stay with me until the end, because these lessons may completely change the way you see relationships forever. Why do some men remain calm, confident, and respected, while others get pulled into emotional chaos, constantly chasing approval and slowly losing themselves in the process? The difference is not luck, and it is not some hidden advantage that only a few people are born with. It comes down to awareness. Once a man begins to see clearly, he stops allowing other people to control his emotions. He stops treating love like something he must earn through endless proving, and he starts recognizing patterns that once kept him confused. That is the moment he begins protecting his peace instead of sacrificing it. Don't just hear this as another message and move on. Take it as a turning point, a moment to decide that you will no longer ignore the signs that have been in front of you all along. If this speaks to you, write in the comments, "I choose clarity." Let that be your reminder that you are ready to see things differently. The first truth challenges one of the biggest beliefs many men carry into relationships. The idea that when a woman says, "I love you," it automatically means she accepts everything about him forever. His mistakes, his struggles, his failures, his weaknesses, and even the difficult seasons of his life. Many men imagine love as something permanent and unshakable, something that remains exactly the same no matter what changes around it. But real life is more complicated than that. Relationships are often shaped by conditions, expectations, emotional safety, consistency, and the circumstances both people are living through. When financial pressure appears, when attention fades, when stress increases, or when the excitement of the beginning starts to disappear, the emotional atmosphere can change too. That does not mean women are incapable of deep love or that they do not care. It means human emotions are influenced by what people experience and how secure they feel. The mistake many men make is giving without awareness. They pour out their energy, time, money, loyalty, and effort while believing that sacrifice alone guarantees commitment in return. They keep showing up, hoping their devotion will eventually be enough, and then one day they look around and wonder why everything they gave did not create the outcome they expected. The lesson is not that love is meaningless. The lesson is that love requires balance, and a man destroys himself when he believes he must constantly prove his value to deserve it. The moment a man understands this, he stops chasing words and starts paying attention to actions. He stops being impressed only by how someone treats him when everything is easy and starts noticing how they behave when life becomes difficult. Real understanding comes when he realizes that what feels like unconditional love may sometimes be admiration for what he brings into someone's life, his consistency, his confidence, his support, his stability, or the way he makes them feel. That awareness changes everything. He becomes more intentional with his time, his energy, and his emotional investment. He stops giving endlessly without receiving anything meaningful in return. He understands that love is not a contract where one person keeps emptying themselves while hoping the other person eventually notices. Healthy love requires mutual effort, respect, appreciation, and balance. If someone only values him when he is successful, energetic, useful, or constantly providing, then he has learned something important about what that connection truly depends on. This awareness does not make him cold, it makes him wiser. He does not close his heart, He simply stops handing it to people who have not shown they can protect it. A man who learns this no longer begs for approval, no longer fears losing someone who does not appreciate him, and no longer confuses emotional dependence with genuine connection. He becomes careful, grounded, and far more difficult to manipulate. The second truth is about something most men underestimate: the power of attention. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess, yet many people give it away without thinking. Every message you send, every compliment you offer, every moment you spend mentally focused on someone, every conversation you keep alive, all of it is energy, and energy has value. The mistake many men make when they are attracted to someone is giving too much, too quickly. They text constantly, respond immediately, compliment everything, and make the other person the center of their world. At first, it feels like genuine affection and sincere interest, but unlimited access can reduce appreciation. Think about anything that is always available. Over time, people often stop noticing its value. Attention works the same way. When someone receives endless validation, constant reassurance, and unlimited availability, they may begin to see it as normal instead of special. Many men believe that giving more attention will automatically create stronger feelings, but attraction does not grow from desperation. Connection grows when two people appreciate each other. The man who is always chasing, always checking, and always trying to get a response can slowly become invisible, not because he lacks value, but because he has forgotten the importance of balance. Your attention should not be something you give away to avoid losing someone. It should be something you share because someone has earned a meaningful place in your life. The goal is not to become distant or pretend not to care. The goal is to understand your own value. A confident man can love deeply while still having boundaries. He can show affection while still maintaining his identity. He can care about someone without making them responsible for his happiness. When you learn to protect your attention, you stop chasing and start choosing, and that shift changes the entire dynamic. She doesn't have time to wonder about you when you are always available. When you respond instantly, stay within reach, and never create any real distance, she never gets the chance to feel your absence. You are there too consistently, too predictably, and too willingly, so the space where curiosity might have grown never really exists. The chase ends before it begins, and without realizing it, she has no reason to invest the same level of effort, because nothing about your presence ever feels scarce, earned, or missed. But notice what happens when a man learns to step back. Suddenly, silence carries meaning, and distance creates curiosity. When the constant flow of attention disappears, the empty space becomes noticeable, and what was once taken for granted starts to feel different. The messages slow down, the validation is no longer automatic, and questions begin to surface. Where is he? Why isn't he reaching out? What has his attention now? This change is not about manipulation or playing games. It is about the simple reality that people often recognize value more clearly when it is no longer guaranteed. This is the truth. The more carefully you choose where your attention goes, the more valuable it becomes. When you stop giving your energy away without thought, your presence starts to mean something. Your words carry more weight because you are no longer speaking just to be heard. Your compliments feel more genuine because they are no longer handed out to everyone. Your time becomes more valuable because it is no longer something people can access whenever they want. Many men misunderstand this and think pulling back means becoming cold, distant, or cruel. But that is not the purpose. The purpose is self-respect. When you understand that your attention is precious, you stop wasting it on people who only enjoy receiving from you while making no effort to give anything back. That is where the balance changes. Instead of becoming the man who constantly seeks recognition, you become the man who knows his own worth. Instead of chasing someone's approval, you begin to understand that your own approval matters first. The more you invest in yourself, your goals, your health, your confidence, your skills, and your future, the more valuable your presence becomes. Think about the difference between two men. One spends all his energy trying to get someone's attention, constantly worrying, constantly reaching out, and slowly becoming emotionally exhausted. The other takes that same energy and pours it into building his own life, growing stronger, improving himself, and becoming fulfilled beyond any relationship. The second man becomes naturally attractive because his attention feels earned, not automatically available. And he does not need to chase validation because he has already created value within himself. The third truth is about emotional control. For years, many men have been taught the wrong way to prove love, as if strong emotions, desperate reactions, and constant effort are signs of devotion. If she ignores you, chase harder. If she becomes distant, try even more. If she gets angry, match her intensity. If she threatens to leave, panic and beg her to stay. But this cycle traps men inside their own emotions, making them controlled by every reaction, every shift in mood, and every moment of uncertainty. The reality is that emotional control is one of the greatest forms of strength a man can develop, because the person who can control your emotions has influence over your decisions. If someone knows exactly how to trigger your anger, jealousy, insecurity, or fear, they can pull you into reactions that do not represent who you truly are. A man who is emotionally grounded responds differently. He does not explode just because someone tries to provoke him. He does not beg for attention because he fears losing someone. He does not abandon his self-respect just to avoid rejection. He observes, he thinks, and he chooses his response. That is where real confidence comes from. Emotional control does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing your feelings to control your actions. A strong man can love deeply while remaining centered. He can express his emotions without becoming a prisoner of them. Because the moment you master yourself, no one else can easily control you. And once that happens, you stop living as someone who is constantly chasing and become someone who chooses. If she knows that your fear of losing her makes you panic, chase, or beg for reassurance, then that fear becomes a weapon she can use against you. Your reactions become predictable, and the more predictable you are, the easier it is for someone else to influence your emotions. Everything changes when you develop emotional control, because then her silence no longer destroys your peace, her mood no longer sends you into anxiety, and the possibility of losing her no longer makes you abandon your dignity. That is when emotional games lose their power, and your calmness becomes stronger than any argument. Understand this clearly. A man who cannot manage his emotions becomes controlled by every situation around him. But a man who can control his emotions becomes powerful because he controls the one thing that matters most, himself. Emotional control does not mean becoming emotionless or pretending that nothing affects you. It means recognizing that your feelings are information, not commands. Anger without control becomes weakness, jealousy without awareness becomes insecurity, and begging disguised as loyalty becomes desperation. When she walks away during an argument expecting you to chase, you remain calm. When she stops communicating, expecting you to panic, you continue with confidence. When she threatens to leave expecting fear to take over, you respond with quiet strength. That is emotional control in action, and respect naturally follows. Strength is not measured by how loudly a man reacts or how intensely he fights to be heard. It is measured by how grounded he remains when he is tested. A man who can stay centered during emotional storms is not easily pulled into confusion, not controlled by temporary emotions, and not willing to let someone else's behavior decide his value. Emotional control also changes the way you see yourself, because you stop feeling ashamed for having emotions, but you also stop allowing those emotions to rule your decisions. You learn that silence can communicate more than endless explanations, and that walking away from disrespect can be more powerful than fighting to be understood. The fourth truth is about understanding the reality of options. From a young age, many men are taught a dangerous belief that women are the prize, and a man must constantly chase, prove himself, and compete just to keep someone's attention. That mindset creates desperation, making a man believe that losing one woman means losing his only chance at love. Because of that fear, he tolerates disrespect, accepts less than he deserves, lowers his standards, and holds on to situations that slowly drain him. But the truth is different. Men have options too, and those options are built through discipline, growth, and self-development, in the gym, in his career, in his character, and in the way he carries himself. When a man truly understands that he has options, the entire relationship dynamic changes. If you believe someone is your only option, you will tolerate things you should not tolerate. But when you know there are many people in the world who could appreciate the person you are becoming, you stop begging someone to stay in a situation that hurts your peace. Options create freedom, and freedom creates confidence. You stop chasing like someone who is afraid. You stop shrinking yourself to maintain attention, and you stop trading your dignity for temporary affection. You stand firmly, knowing that if one connection ends, life continues, and sometimes the next connection will be healthier because you have become stronger. That is the lesson. Build yourself until you have freedom. Invest in your body, your mind, your career, your skills, and your purpose, and create a life so strong that you are never trapped by the fear of losing one person. The fifth truth is about the foundation that holds everything together: self-respect. Too many men enter relationships ready to give everything they have. They give their time, their energy, their money, their loyalty, and their devotion. But somewhere along the way, they sacrifice the one thing they should have protected above everything else: their respect for themselves. They place love above dignity, attraction above standards, and someone's beauty above their own boundaries. Slowly, without realizing it, they hand away their power. A man without self-respect is like a kingdom without protection. Anyone can enter. Anyone can take advantage. Anyone can influence his decisions because he has no strong foundation holding him in place. People can sense when someone is willing to abandon his own values just to keep them around. They notice when a man ignores disrespect, excuses dishonesty, accepts broken promises, or forgives everything because he fears losing the relationship more than losing himself. And once someone realizes that your fear is stronger than your standards, that pattern can continue. Here is the uncomfortable truth. If you cannot protect your own respect, you cannot build a healthy love either. You can give expensive gifts. You can write beautiful words. You can sacrifice your time and energy. But none of those things matter if you have shown someone that you are willing to betray yourself just to keep them close. Love without self-respect is not true love. It becomes dependence. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a man who knows his boundaries, not walls built to keep everyone away, but clear standards that show what he will and will not accept. He does not tolerate constant disrespect. He does not accept manipulation disguised as love. He does not allow betrayal to be explained away as a mistake. He does not stay in situations where he is treated as an option while giving someone his full commitment. That man is not arrogant. He is not heartless. He simply understands his own value. And here is the surprising part. When you place self-respect above the fear of losing someone, you become more attractive, not less. Your words carry more power because you stand behind them. Your presence becomes stronger because you are not trying to prove your worth. You do not have to demand respect because your actions already communicate that you expect it. Self-respect changes the entire relationship dynamic. When you raise your standards, one of two things happens. The right person rises to meet them, or the wrong person walks away. If they rise, you gain a connection built on respect and appreciation. If they leave, you still win because you kept your dignity. There is no real loss in protecting yourself. But without self-respect, the cycle becomes painful. You start making excuses for behavior that hurts you. You convince yourself that disrespect is normal. You accept less and less until eventually you do not just lose the relationship, you lose the person you used to be. That is the slow damage caused by abandoning yourself. But everything changes when you understand the value of self-respect. Your attention becomes more valuable because you stop giving it away carelessly. Your emotions become more controlled because you refuse to be pulled into unnecessary chaos. Your options increase because you no longer settle for situations that do not honor you. And your love becomes stronger because it comes from choice, not fear. This is the truth that connects everything together. Love without respect is only an illusion. A relationship without respect becomes a place where people slowly lose themselves, and a man without self-respect enters every battle already defeated. So never trade your dignity for temporary affection. Never sacrifice your peace just to avoid being alone. Never allow attraction or beauty to convince you to lower the standards that protect your life. Respect yourself first, and everything else begins to change. Because once a man chooses self-respect, he becomes difficult to control. And when a man can no longer be controlled by fear, the games finally end. Now you understand the 5 truths every man must recognize. Love is not always as simple as people imagine. It can be influenced by expectations, circumstances, and emotional needs. Your attention is not something to give away without thought. It is a valuable part of who you are. Your emotions are not weaknesses for someone else to control. They are something you must learn to master. Your options are not limited. They grow every time you invest in yourself. And above everything else, your self-respect is not negotiable. It is the foundation of everything. When a man truly understands these lessons, he stops moving through life blindly, stops giving without thinking, and stops sacrificing his dignity in the name of love. He does not become bitter. He becomes aware. He becomes more intentional, more disciplined, and more grounded.